Planning Commission meeting. This meeting is held being web due to the COVID crisis. Members of the public may participate in the meeting by following the instructions listed on the agenda. You may also view and listen to the meeting on the live stream, cable TV, the city website, and YouTube. Following roll call, during summary of hearing procedures, we will review how the public may provide comment during today's session. Commissioner Lardenois.
Here.
Commissioner Alawalia.
Yes.
Commissioner Barrocio.
Here.
Commissioner Cantrell.
Here.
Commissioner Casey.
Here.
Commissioner Garcia.
Here.
Commissioner Ornelas Wise. Commissioner Young.
Here.
And we will welcome our newest commissioner, Commissioner Carlos Rosario.
Here.
Excellent. And just checking back, is Commissioner Ornelas Wise in attendance? And somebody has a lot of noise in their background, so you can mute. It's a kind of like a fax machine, or not a fax machine, some type of like machine. All right, so here's our summary of hearing procedures. The procedure for the hearing is as follows. After a staff report, applicants and appellants may make a 5-minute presentation. City staff will call out the names of the public who identify the items they want to speak on. You may identify yourself as the raise hand feature in the web meeting or click *9 on your phone. In addition, you may call 408-535-3505 or email planning support staff at sanjoseca.gov and identify your name, number, and what item you would like to speak on. As your name is called, city staff will unmute you to speak. After we confirm your audio is working, your allotted time will begin. Each speaker will have up to 2 minutes. Speakers using a translator will have double the time. After the public testimony, the applicant and appellant may make closing remarks for an additional 5 minutes. Planning commissioners may not ask questions of the speakers, may ask questions of the speakers. Response to the commissioner questions will not reduce the speaker's time allowance. Staff will unmute the speaker to respond to the commissioner. The public hearing will be closed, and then the Planning Commission will take action on the item. The Planning Commission may request staff to respond to the public testimony, ask staff questions, and discuss the item. If you challenge these land use decisions in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at this public hearing or in written correspondence delivered to the city or prior to the public hearing. The Planning Commission's actions on rezonings, pre-zonings, general plan amendments, and code amendments is advisory to the City Council. The City Council will hold public hearings on these items. Section 20.120.400 of the Municipal Code provides the procedures for legal protests to the City Council on rezonings and pre-zonings. The Planning Commission's action on conditional use permits is appealable to the City Council in accordance with Section 200.100.220 of the Municipal Code. So now we will call to order. And before we begin, I always want to remind the Planning Commission members and members of the public to follow our code of conduct at meetings. This includes commenting on the specific agenda item only and addressing the full body. Public speakers will not engage in a conversation with the commissioners or staff. All members of the Planning Commission, staff, and the public are expected to refrain from abusive language. Repeated failure to comply with the code of conduct which will disturb, disrupt, or impede the order of conduct of this meeting may result in removal from the meeting. This meeting of the Planning Commission will now come to order. We are now on item 2, which is public comment, and this is for members of the public that would like to speak on anything that is not on our agenda. Planning staff, are there any hands for public comment?
We do. We have Eddie and Jose. I'll unmute Eddie. Do you want to go ahead and say what your comment is about?
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. I've driven and walked throughout the city most of my life. And one thing that's always concerned me is the issue with the sidewalk repair. Just by driving a few blocks or walking down the street in San Jose, you'll find broken, uneven, unsafe sidewalks. I think there should be a team in the city that concentrates solely on sidewalk repairs to protect our children and our community. There's been a few close calls where I almost went face first due to uneven sidewalks, If sidewalks are not safe to walk on, the pedestrians then will make their way into the street, and that will be another safety concern, right, for the community. I think we should even contract some concrete companies that can do the work for the city and starting off around schools and senior centers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker.
Jose, you are unmuted. Go ahead and unmute your device.
Is he still muted?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Okay, thank you, Planning Commission. Good evening. My name is Jose Mexicano, and I'm a resident of East San Jose, Alum Rock area, to be exact. The work on Alum Rock Avenue in between White Road and Capitol Avenue, the repaving work, I am very, very happy that's being done, and I like to thank you for allowing that to happen. It's making our city safer for our roads. It was very uneven. It was a lot of potholes. To get this work done is great for our cars, and it makes our city beautiful, especially the east side of San Jose. Alum Rock, especially, as you know, it leads us up to our great and beautiful park, Alum Rock Park. And let's not forget, it's a road up to the Jim Zake Observatory. So I could be here talking about other projects that I believe that we need to work on, but I'll say that for another day. Right now, I'm just here to thank you for working on the road of Alum Rock, and hopefully we can extend it to other roads like White Road in between White and Story. That'd be great. But right now, thank you for that, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Jose. Moving on to item 3, deferrals and removals. I see none. Moving on to next item is 4, is the consent calendar, where we have the minutes and some consent items. Is there any questions or hands from the public on the consent calendar, staff?
Yes, I do see 2 hands raised. I'm not sure which item they're for. Bill, what item are you raising your hand for?
Hi, this is William Charlie. I'm an attorney representing the Berryessa Union School District, asking for item 4A to be removed from the consent calendar. I understood Cameron G was going to defer the item.
I'm sorry, you're asking for 4A, the minutes?
Mr. Chair, this will be item 4B.
4B as in boy.
calendar.
Okay,
Yes,
so there's a
B as in
request
boy.
to pull that item from the consent calendar. And is there any other hands up at the sign staff from the public?
Yes,
Yes.
Tina?
Yes, my name is Tina Boomershine, and I wanted to voice my support for item C.
Okay. Hang on, so are you requesting it be pulled or just wanted to speak on it?
No, I want to speak on it, but I'm not sure what the timing is.
Staff and city attorney, for this item, if someone wants to speak on it, should we just simply pull that item as well?
No, I don't want to pull it. I
My apologies. Hang on one sec.
I believe Commissioner Cantrell already requested to pull it.
Okay, great. So you'll have an opportunity to speak on the pulled item. Just hang tight. And we're running our way through the consent calendar now. So we have 2 items that have been requested to be pulled now. Any other members of the public here on this one?
I didn't request that be pulled, by the way.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, Commissioner Cantrell. So any other hands from the public, staff? I take that as a no.
No, we don't. Tina has her hand up again. Did you want
But
to
I think
unmute
we're
her?
pulling her item, so I think that'll be fine. And then back to the commissioners, Commissioner Young.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'd like to pull items 4C and 4D, please.
Okay, so staff, which items have you recorded to be pulled? 4B, 4C, 4D. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, Cameron G with planning staff. We're going to be pulling item 4B from the consent calendar and renoticing to a later planning commission hearing date.
Okay. And then otherwise, are we also, based on the request from the public, also pulling 4C and 4D? Is that what you heard?
That is correct.
Excellent. All right. So those items are going to be pulled. So we just need at this point a motion for the consent calendar.
I'll move to approve the remainder of the consent calendar.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Great. So we have a motion to approve the minutes, and we'll move on with the consent items after this vote. Commissioner Lardenois,
Yes.
Commissioner Ahluwalia,
Yes.
Commissioner Barroso,
Yes.
Commissioner Cantrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Casey,
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia,
Yes.
Commissioner Ornelas Wise, Commissioner Rosario,
Yes.
and Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Okay, so then now we'll be moving on to the consent calendar item. Staff, do you need to say anything on 4B, or what you said will suffice, or do you need a motion on that?
I think, Chair, I think you do need a motion to move it back to sections of deferral. Moving the item to deferral and then voting.
Okay, so we need a motion from the commission to move item 4B as a deferral. Do we have anyone in the commission who will make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Second, is there a second?
Second.
Excellent. Is there any discussion on that item? I don't see any hands. So now we'll just have a vote.
It's
So,
just
Go ahead.
actually, was that member of the public who asked about this item? Are they still here?
They are, and so,
Okay.
so staff, I think we could take their comment even though the item is being deferred. Is that correct?
If he's speaking to the issue of deferral, yes.
Okay, so, if he's speaking, if he maybe perhaps doesn't want it deferred, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, so I think staff knows which one was the attorney that called in.
Yes, that was Bill or William. Sorry, his name is Bill on here. William, you are unmuted.
Yes, apologies. This is being renoticed. What are you asking of me?
We're deferring this item to another future commission meeting. Would you like to not have that happen? Or are you okay with that happening?
The date has not been set, correct?
That's correct.
It can be deferred.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commissioners on that? I did see one hand pop up. Was that Commissioner Garcia?
I was just clarifying that that was the attorney that was requesting that and not the member of the public.
Okay, great. So we have a motion to defer the item, and staff will bring that back at a later date. On the motion, Commissioner Lardenois.
Oh, roll call. Yes.
Commissioner Ahluwalia.
Yes.
Commissioner Barroso.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Casey.
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia.
Yes.
Commissioner Ornelas Wise. Commissioner Rosario.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Myself is a yes. So that item is now deferred. Moving on to the next item on the consent calendar is item C, CP 22-010. Staff, do you have something you'd like to lay up on this, or have a member of the public talk on it, or the commissioner that pulled it? I can't recall.
Yes, hello. Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. This is Cora McNaughton, the Planning Project Manager for this request for a conditional use permit, file number CP 22010, and environmental file number ER 22074. The request is to allow the installation of a 180 square foot pump house, a 20 kilowatt backup generator, and a chemical dosing system, a replacement of 2 pumps and a motor control center, enlargement of the paved area on site, and the removal of 2 ordinance-sized trees and 1 non-ordinance-sized tree on an approximately 0.61 gross acre site. The project site is located on the north side of Peary Lane near its terminus. The site is currently developed with a 500,000 gallon water tank with a height of 30.5 feet and a diameter of almost 54 feet, as well as 2 pumps and ancillary equipment. Approximately 6,500 square feet of the site is paved, and that would be enlarged by about 14% or 920 square feet. Adjoining uses to the site include single-family homes to the west and south and open space to the north and east. The site has a general plan land use designation of residential neighborhood and is in the R15 zoning district. The project is consistent with all relevant general plan policies and the development standards of the zoning district. A Class 1 categorical exemption from the California Environmental Quality Act has been prepared for the project and is included as part of the permit. The exemption statement concludes that the project meets all of the requirements for a Class 1 exemption. Therefore, staff recommends that the Planning Commission find that the project is in conformance with the California Environmental Quality Act and approve the proposed conditional use permit. This concludes staff presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I believe staff, was there a member of the public that wanted to speak on the item?
That is correct.
Excellent. Is it okay if we go to that person now?
Yes.
Hi, my name's Tina Boomershine. I just wanted to say that my husband and I live next door to the water tank, and we are fully in support of the plan that has been submitted. We really don't want any changes to be made. We think it was well considered and takes into account the noise, and they've done a really nice job of trying to work with the neighborhood. And we really would utilize a backup generator when our power goes out. So we're grateful that they're trying to do this upgrade to the system so that when the power goes out, we don't end up running out of water because they can't pump water up to the tank. So I'm just noting full support of this.
Great. Thanks so much for that feedback. Is there any question from commissioners, or is there a motion? Commissioner Young?
Yes, thank you, Chair. The reason I pulled this item is the chemical locker and dosing system caught my eye, and I just want to clarify what is being proposed here, because we have single-family homes within literally 100 feet of this facility. So I'm trying to understand what they're doing currently and what is being proposed, if staff could explain that.
Okay, I think this is part of the water infrastructure within the city prepared by the utility, but let's have staff comment on that.
Jared, do you want the applicant to speak? I don't think you gave the opportunity to the applicant to speak.
A consent item, I didn't even think there would be the applicant. So I think that'd be very wise. So thank you very much. So if the applicant is available, that'd be fantastic.
Cora, do we know if the applicant's here and what their name would be?
Yes, there are a couple of different applicant representatives here. Kevin Wynn or Scott Hoffman. I'm not sure which one would like to speak.
So Kevin and Scott, you may speak together or separately, but you have up to 5 minutes to enlighten us.
Excellent. Thank you, commissioners. My name is Scott Hoffman. I'm with the San Jose Water Engineering Department on behalf of San Jose Water. And I think for this question, it's basically a chemical dosing system and chlorine. And we do it in a certain way now. We do it by hand, and this would be more automated. But I'd like Ed Lambing, if he could probably give you more detail on what it really entails. So I'll let him speak. Ed, if you could raise your hand.
Ed is unmuted.
Okay, thank you very much, commissioners and the members of public that spoke on behalf. I hear the question as being one related to the nature of the chemical dosing system. And as Scott Hoffman explained, part of San Jose Water Company's commitment to the community we serve is to maintain the high quality standards of the water that makes its way to people's homes. So while that water is in the tank, we boost the disinfection residual of the water in the tank to optimize the disinfectant potential in the system. So as Scott said, it was a manual operation. It required our operators to do it. It was far less than optimal. We now have equipment that mixes the tank water, maintains a homogeneous mixture of that chemical, and provides for the optimal dosing. So it's not something that should be of a particular concern to the community. It's not chlorine gas. It's a low concentration of chlorine and liquid ammonia sulfate that is used to protect the community. But I'd be glad to entertain or continue that discussion.
Well, great. Well, thanks for that explanation. Hold tight if there's a question. Back to Commissioner Young.
Yes, thank you to the applicants. I appreciate that. So just one question for the staff. Has the fire department hazardous materials section reviewed this?
Yes, as far as we understand, they have. The fire department did review this application.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's the only question I had.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions, or is there a motion on the item?
I'll move to approve the item.
Okay, Commissioner Lardenois, is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Young? Excellent. So let's go through the roll call. Any discussion on the motion? Don't see any. We will go Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Rosario.
Yes.
Commissioner Ornelas Wise. Commissioner Garcia.
Yes.
Commissioner Casey.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Barroso.
Yes.
Commissioner Alawalia.
Yes.
Commissioner Lardenois.
Yes.
And myself, a yes. So moving on to the next item. That would be item D, PP 22. Staff, is anything you want to chat on this one? Present,
Sure.
pardon me.
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening, planning commissioners and members of the public. My name is Sylvia Doe. I'm the planning project manager with the Department of Planning, Building, and Code Enforcement. And Danielle, if I may, I just have a few slides to share. Thank you. So yeah, before you this evening is an uncodified ordinance that would temporarily extend specified permit terms. And just briefly for background, back in August of 2020, the City Council adopted an ordinance to temporarily extend certain land use permit types by 2 years from the set expiration date, and also tree removal permits by 8 months from the set expiration date. And the reason for this is because early on, the city acknowledged and anticipated economic downturn and potential delays in construction at the beginning of the COVID-19 shelter-in-place orders. And permits that have expired or would expire during the COVID-19 state of emergency would be therefore affected. And so in general, land use permits typically have a standard condition that provides for a 2-year expiration term if construction or the use hasn't commenced by then. And in addition, the zoning ordinance also allows the Director of Planning to administratively approve a permit adjustment to extend the term of an approved land use permit for up to 1 year, for up to a maximum of 2 such extensions. And so before you this evening is, again, the uncodified ordinance that would continue to temporarily extend the term of specific land use and historic preservation permits by 2 years from their expiration dates. And this includes all of the land use permits and historic preservation permit types listed on this screen. I won't go into it. And it also includes all associated permits under one entitlement approval. So what this means is that for valid permits that had already been automatically extended by the current uncodified ordinance and or permit adjustment extensions, those permits would qualify for the proposed automatic 2-year extension from the most extended permit expiration date, but not to extend past March 17th of 2024. And again, this is still in acknowledgement due to the continued and ongoing adverse economic and public health impacts related to the COVID-19 pandemic. And also an acknowledgement of the economic hardships as a result of the pandemic and how it has significantly impacted financing and construction activity, and thereby putting development projects at risk for expiring prior to implementation and construction. And so therefore, staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend that the City Council approve the ordinance extending the term of these certain land use and historic preservation permits by 2 years from their expiration date. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Staff, I cannot recall, was there a member of public that pulled this, or was this a fellow commissioner?
Commissioner Young.
Excellent. Let's go straight to Commissioner Young then.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Ms. Doe, for the presentation. So I'll tell you, I will tell the members of the commission why I pulled this item. As I understand, and Ms. Doe, I'm going to ask you a couple of clarifying questions in just a minute, but as I understand it, we are now going to extend these permits for a total of 4 years. 4 years, to me, seems a lifetime in this city, the way development goes. So I have concerns on this item, and I want to understand why it's being proposed and how it might impact. So just, Ms. Doe, a clarification, just to make sure I understand. So if a project, let's say, was approved in April of 2020, the extension that the council gave would have extended that 2 years, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. These permits would have been either approved or valid prior to March 17th, 2020, which was the start of the pandemic. So yes, if a project was approved, say March 17th, 2020 or so, those permit terms typically have a 2-year term limit, in which case an applicant would have to apply for an additional administrative extension for up to 2 1-year extensions. So therefore a total of 4 years. And yes, you're correct in that the City Council adopted ordinance allowed an additional 2 years on top of that.
So, okay, great. And so what we're looking at now would, on this project I was just mentioning, April 2020, their permit would now automatically be extended to April 2024. Is that correct?
It would be up to March 17th of 2024.
Okay, and then with the planning director's approval, they could then extend that another 2 years, correct, to 2026?
If they had not already taken advantage of those 2 1-year extensions.
Okay. Okay. So as I understand it, then we're talking about taking a permit that a developer may have taken out in 2020 and potentially letting that permit ride for 6 years. And so, you know, I will just share my concerns with the other members of the commission. I'd be interested to know is, as I said, the way planning and development and construction occurs in this city, that's a long time. And a lot of things can change. And Ms. Doe, if you will humor me, I want to give you a scenario and just tell me if this is accurate. So let's just say that in 2020, someone had come in for a change of use from a commercial building to, say, a nightclub. And that was approved by the Planning Commission and the staff. And at the time that was approved, there were 2 commercial buildings next to this proposed nightclub, so not really a big deal. Then in the meantime, someone has taken one of those commercial buildings and gotten approval to build a residential building there. So now we have, let's say, a multi-story residence next to a nightclub that could get approved, say, in 2026. So I guess you can see where I'm driving at is the conditions under which that project was approved at the time have changed greatly. And now there are residences right next door. So can you just, am I being accurate in what I'm saying?
Thank you, Commissioner Young. Sylvia, and I think Sylvia, I think though in that scenario, the residential developer would know that there's a nightclub approved at the parcel, it just hasn't been developed yet. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And I would also add that depending on that zoning district, we would also acknowledge what the allowable uses are, both for the site that has been approved and also for that residential development that was under consideration. So yeah, acknowledging all of the existing entitlements, including the nightclub, even if it had not commenced at that moment.
Okay, great. A couple more questions. What is the process for renewing an expired permit? What is there a cost involved? Is there how do you folks do that?
Yeah, for the permit adjustment administrative level permit extensions, there is a cost involved, which is about $300 just to account for staff's time for taking in the application and then issuing a one-page permit acknowledging the one-year extension.
Okay. So essentially, we're talking about extending deadlines another 2 years. And really all that would do would save the developer $300 on the project. Is that correct?
Yes, in many scenarios, the developer might have already obtained the permit adjustment, and this would be in 2 years in addition to that. There could be also other scenarios where a developer never took advantage of the permit adjustment, and so long as that original development or use permit is still valid, then this automatic extension would apply on top of it, and they could be eligible for future administrative level permit extensions.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll wrap up. I know I've taken some time here. I have a concern about this item. I am not really understanding how this item benefits our residents. I understand how it benefits the developer, but you know, we're here for our residents, at least I feel I am. So certainly sensitive to the developers, and I'm sensitive to the fact that I know that COVID had an impact. I feel like that impact is over. It seems like our economic activity is picking up. So I have a concern, and I'd be interested to hear what the other commissioners have to say. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Young. Thank you very much. I think overall staff, there's essentially, you've had, I'm assuming, more than one request of the difficulty in the current environment. And staff is looking at, rather than dealing with these one by one, is just to do it in a blanket format. And I'm assuming this is what the applicants are interested in.
Yes, most definitely. We've heard from many developers about their challenges being able to obtain financing for their projects, let alone obtain construction materials to begin construction. And also to add on to that, right now through our building permit process, we're experiencing huge volume of applications, but also a huge volume of staff vacancies as well that would impact even the city's ability to issue building permits to allow a developer to even start construction. So everything is kind of like compounded. I also wanted to add, just for additional background, is that even with the Great Recession 10 plus years ago, we did a similar permit extension for anywhere for 2 to even up to 4 years for office development, especially in downtown. And as you know, like with the Great Recession, there wasn't any sort of state of emergency where construction had to be halted and folks had to be shelter in place. So in a way, staff believes that the COVID-19 pandemic is even a more dire situation than what we experienced back in the Great Recession, when we did allow these types of special temporary permit extensions.
Mr. Chair, I also like to add that as part of the city's COVID-19 relief, in addition to what Sylvia's saying.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Lardenois?
Sure. So I just want to start off by acknowledging—
Kind of Blair Witch over there. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I need to get some lighting that's actually in front of my face.
It's all right. It's all right.
But yeah, I just want to start off by saying I think Commissioner Young's overall concern is totally reasonable. I mean, I think we should have reasonable limits on how long entitlements last for if they're not built. I mean, I think back to last year we had the whole flea market discussion that was very complicated because of an entitlement, I think going back to 2007. In that situation, that was still valid. But I think in this particular case, that this extension makes sense. There's, really agreeing with Robert there. I see it, as part of how the city is addressing the impacts of COVID-19, and also it is a very unprecedented situation, and it still could have potential impacts on whether a project could get built, say, the next year, but with this extension may still be able to be built in the in the near future. And then also just in terms of whether it's good for the developers or whether it's good for residents. And this is not meant to be snarky in any way. I like to think that we on the Planning Commission and the City Council approve projects because they're good for the community, because that's the goal of our general plan and all our other policies. So I don't see that in this situation as being in conflict. So I will make a motion to approve this item, but of course, curious
Is
what
there
others
a
have to say.
second to the motion?
I'll second.
Okay. Are you done with comments for now, Commissioner Lornois?
I am. Thank you.
Commissioner Cantrell?
Actually, yeah, I just want to say thanks again, Commissioner Young. You're so thorough. I actually viewed this as only a 4-year total extension, not up to 6. But I still understand the necessity of doing so. And, given that these were already approved for their impact, given that this would create a substantial burden on the planning department and actually might create a lot of blockage to development that we want to see happen. So for those reasons, I'm willing to approve.
Okay, so we have a motion with a second. Are there any other comments from commissioners? I see Commissioner Barroso. Actually, hang on, Commissioner Barroso. I see staff had their hand up. Sylvia Doe?
Sure. Thank you, Chair. I just wanted also to add a point of clarification that since the pandemic, staff has updated all the permits moving forward to public hearing is to, instead of having a initial 2-year term, to a 4-year term. So really all of the permits that have been before the Planning Commission, Planning Directors Hearing, or City Council, since the start of pandemic or middle of the pandemic, we have had the 4-year term. So that would allow developers or applicants rather to have a total of 6 years. So in a way, this automatic extension would be consistent with current practice.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then Commissioner Barroso?
Perfect. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So just a clarifying question, when we're saying how we feel we're going to vote on it, we're saying that when it shows up on a future date, or are we not pulling it tonight? And then I have a follow-up question.
We're voting on it tonight, and we're basically saying if an applicant due to the pandemic is unable to get the financing and go build, the city is just going to voluntarily give them extra time rather than have them apply for extensions, which takes up staff time. So it's viewed as a way to be assisting the development community because of the pandemic and the externalities of that.
And if I could chime in real quick, I think Commissioner Barroso, you talk about polling. Just to clarify, when we pull something from the consent calendar, it's just so that we can have a full discussion on it rather than expedite the approval like we normally would with consent calendar. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're not going to consider an item at that meeting.
I see. So I think Commissioner Young, was your intention to discuss it openly as opposed to us approving it wholesale with the consent calendar, or did you want it moved to a future date?
No, I don't want it moved. I just wanted it discussed as we are doing now and a vote taken. So
I see. Okay. So my follow-up question is, when this extension was approved, was it given a sunshine date in terms of we're going to be granting this 4 to 6 year extension until 2025? I mean, is there an indicator when this is going to not be the case?
Let's have staff. I think staff did offer a sunset date, but let's see what staff says.
Commissioner Barocio, if I may ask for clarification, is the question with regards to the sunset date of this proposed ordinance or the already originally adopted city council ordinance?
I may be getting them confused, but whichever one extends it to a 6-year mark.
Okay, the one before us this evening. Yes, there would be a sunset date of March 17th, 2020. I'm sorry, 2024.
2024. Okay.
Yes.
Commissioner Young, you still have your hand up?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Actually, I have a couple additional questions that have come up as a result of the discussion. So, Mr. Manford, just to clarify, the council approved a 2-year extension due to COVID, correct? So wouldn't that be the extension that would relate to the COVID-19 funding that we received from the federal government?
Commissioner Young, that will be correct, but this only extends that one for an additional 2 years. And as Sylvia indicated, the sunset date will be March 2024.
Okay, so if we do not approve this, are we putting additional federal funding for COVID-19 at risk?
I wouldn't conclude that, but from a planning standpoint, we've been getting a lot of applications for extension, and we are short-staffed right now. So doing it individually on a project-by-project basis delays time, and also it also impacts our staff and resources as it stands.
Okay, so then, and Ms. Doe, I'm confused by something you said, which is what's being proposed is consistent with current practice. If it's consistent with current practice, why are we proposing this? I don't understand.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to elaborate on that. So what I was referring to is pre-pandemic, it has been staff's standard practice to incorporate a 2-year term limit in draft permits. And since the start of or in the middle of the pandemic, staff acknowledged that in light of the situation going on worldwide, instead of applying in our draft permits the standard 2-year term limit, we modified it to 4 years. So in other words, any development permits that were in front of a public hearing body around the middle of the pandemic onwards to even today, those draft permits have a 4-year term limit.
Okay, so the change would be extending the term limit from 4 to 6 years, is that correct?
This would only apply to permits that were approved before or valid as of March 17th, 2020.
Okay. I'm going to make one editorial comment and then I promise I will stop talking. I understand the staffing shortage. I've talked to Mr. Manford about this, and I'm really, really sensitive to the really hard spot you all are in. And I've said before, I commend you, all of you, for the hard work that you do. I believe, personal opinion, that one of the reasons there's a staffing shortage is the compensation for the planners at all levels is not sufficient. It's not comparable to other cities in our county. So in a way, I feel like by doing this, we're just kicking that problem down the road rather than having the council address that. So that's my editorial comment, and I will defer. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia?
I don't really have a comment. I was just without trying to extend the conversation, I was going to say that the 6 years that is being referred to is going backwards in time from 2024. So it's not 6 years from now. It's basically codifying or making an ordinance to make the emergency extensions that were put in place basically correctly on the books, if you will. So I'm prepared to vote on it.
Okay, great. And staff, alternative to this, if you just stayed, if we did nothing, you would get a lot of inquiries from a lot of applicants asking for extensions. Staff would have to take the time to process those and have public administrative hearings, et cetera, et cetera. And let's say an applicant had reached the end of their extensions, then what? And picture whatever development you want, right? A commercial building, low-income housing, mixed-use development. What's that applicant have to do at that point because they've expired now because they couldn't get financing or whatever the situation was?
Sure. In the scenario where a permit has expired, then they would have to go through an entitlement process all over again. And so that would include CEQA review. And so we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars and months.
And time.
Possibly, yeah, exactly.
Time and appeal and all that.
Correct.
Okay, great. Was there another hand? Commissioner Barroso?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So two questions. One to follow up on what Commissioner Garcia just said, and perhaps Ms. Stowe, you can clarify. So thank you for that point in terms of the March 2024. That's more of a cap. No more projects before March 17th of 2020 could get extended beyond that. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. This extension only applies to projects that have previously qualified for the current ordinance. And if they are still valid, then their maximum cap would be up until March 17th of 2024.
Okay, so basically the applicants who may have put something in, say, 2019, 2018, they would be the ones benefiting from this 6-year lock that they have till March 2024.
Correct. If their projects have been approved by March 17th of 2022. I'm sorry, there's so many years here. If their projects were still valid and had been approved by March 17th of 2020, then yes, they would be eligible for this extension.
Okay. And is there like a rough estimate about how many projects we're talking about that would take advantage of that 2-year grace period from 2018 to 2019 that haven't really started the process that would have to go back? Are we talking about 50? Are we talking about 200? Like, how many are we talking about?
Yeah, that's a really great question that I kind of anticipated coming up. But on the flip side, with the challenges in our permitting system, there's not a great way, unfortunately, to track when a project was approved and of those projects, which ones applied for the regular administrative level extension. And so therefore, it's kind of hard to kind of really come to a definitive number on what those remaining eligible permits that would qualify for the extension is.
Okay. Perhaps to give me, like personally, I don't know if the rest of the commission may benefit from this, but how many applicants per year do you see that would kind of fall under this umbrella? Like, perhaps we don't know how many would want the 2-year extension to 2024, but in terms of the applicant flow that you get, are we possibly talking about hundreds, in the tens, under 100, or thousands?
I guess, staff, how many applications do you entitle on any given year, approximately, if that's even something you know?
Yes, we do track that. I would just need a couple of minutes.
Yeah, it looks like Sylvia's looking it up on some.
Yeah, looking at it. Yeah, you can see it in my reflection of my glasses.
Thank you for that. And I'll take advantage as she does that to ask a follow-up question about compensation. You said that well, not necessarily you, Ms. Stowe, but anyone else on the planning staff side of things, when the $300 have to get paid by the applicant, does that go to overtime, or does that go to just the general pots because the staff that's working on it is doing it during work hours?
That goes to the planning department.
Right. But in terms of like when that couple of hours or when that reissuing happens, does that happen during overtime hours, or is that clocked in under regular work hours?
That is
It's
under
under
regular,
regular, go ahead, sorry.
under regular work hours.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Well,
also the planning division operates on a cost recovery basis. So it's applications that actually go into our budget for personnel expenses.
right. Okay. Thank you.
And Sylvia, did you find that number?
I am. I'm just going to do a little number crunching here to add up some numbers.
Okay, math. And Commissioner Barroso, did you have another comment or question?
Yeah, I know other departments, I guess you would say, that the city that's under the city government does do overtime. Is it a misconception of mine that that's not accurate? And if it's accurate that other departments do overtime, is this something that the planning commission, not us, but the planning staff could leverage if the work hits capacity and unfortunately there's no hiring happening? Perhaps there's overtime that's available.
Robert?
Commissioner Borussia, could you please repeat the question? I was
Yes,
just looking at the numbers here.
Yeah. Is it possible for the planning department staff to get overtime? Is that not allowed for any San Jose City department, or is it allowed? And is that something that could be explored that would alleviate some of the like volume of work that you and your team have to do?
Yeah, we do have overtime and we do allow overtime. The issue is that we can't require staff to do overtime. It's just on a voluntary basis.
Okay, and on that volunteer basis, do you see in the planning staff that is capable, that is credentialed, that does have all the licensing and background knowledge to do some of this overtime? Do you see a lot of hands go up, or is it a 50-50 where like some projects just won't get taken care of through the overtime system? Or do you see, hey, like 95% of the projects that need overtime do get a hand raised?
Okay,
it is very difficult to answer that question because it's very uncertain. Sometimes there are volunteers, other times too, because of our staffing situation, it becomes difficult. And during this COVID period or pandemic period, it's been very difficult because a lot of staff are balancing their needs with work needs and home needs and stuff like that. So it's been a very precarious and also difficult situation to predict.
As well, I would guess your overtime budget is not sized based on the $300 that you get. That would exceed your budget as well, I'm certain.
That is correct.
Okay, let's see if Sylvia has the math.
All right, so I pulled up some numbers from fiscal year 2021 and 2022, and there's approximately about 120 applications that would fall under these categories.
Okay, there's the answer.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any other comments or questions? Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve the staff recommendation. And we will go through the roll call. How about we start with Commissioner Young?
No.
Okay, Commissioner Rosario?
Yes.
Commissioner Ornelas Wise? Commissioner Garcia?
Yes.
Commissioner Casey?
Yes.
Commissioner Cantrell?
Yes.
Commissioner Barroso?
No.
Commissioner Alawalia?
Yes.
Commissioner Lardenois?
Yes.
And myself is a yes. And one comment I'll have, if having seen these, applications, the entitlement process takes a long time. I really don't think any particular applicant given the extra time, will decide to sit on it. I think they're ready to go the moment they get the money. And in the world of we live in, it's our housing and developments are privately financed, and that's contingent on banks or pension funds giving them money. And if that money is not available, they don't do anything. And I think outside of the pandemic, we're going into a very high interest rate era, and financing is going to be tougher. And I've heard that a significant project in the downtown has stopped construction because there's no money. So let's hope for the best for everyone, but it's difficult. Okay, moving on to item 6. There are no referrals from the city council. Item 7, good and welfare. Is there a report from the city council from Robert Manford?
Yes, Mr. Chair, there is. On October 4th, the City Council approved the amendments to the Downtown San Jose Design Guidelines, as well as the citywide design guidelines. That came through this commission.
That's right. And that was it? Okay.
That's it.
Subcommittee formation, none. Commissioner calendar, we have that attached. The schedule for 2023 to approve. Nothing unusual. It's still staying 2 Wednesdays a month. Everyone put those in your calendar. And do we have any public record items? I see nothing from staff on the public record. That's correct.
Okay. Lardino has to sign up.
Yep, I'm getting to that one, I promise. But nothing on the public record, correct?
No.
Okay, outstanding. Commissioner Lardinois.
Yeah, I was just curious about the wording of this resolution. I don't recall previous resolutions that we've done for this, so it could just be the same. But am I understanding it correct to say that we'll be meeting in person, or is this just establishing what the location would be when we meet in person, but not clear when that'll happen?
Depends on the governor, I believe. City Attorney?
That's correct. The governor did pass a law allowing for Zoom-like meetings to continue under the Brown Act. So I think whether or not we meet in person will also be dictated by logistics, staff needs, et cetera. But that I think will be TBD.
Right. So this resolution doesn't indicate any change in the arrangement of these meetings.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we've reached the end. Unless anyone has any comments, again, we welcome our newest commissioner, Commissioner Rosario, from the great district of 2, right? Santa Teresa, Edenvale.
Welcome.
Welcome, Carlos.
Thank you all for having me.
Excellent. All right, well then we'll see you after Halloween, I think. No, wait a minute. No, we'll right before Halloween. Okay, everyone have a good evening, and thanks for all your efforts and great questions, and thank you, staff. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Good night.